that is already far too controlled by these companies that will be entirely controlled by these companies.
Unbelievable.
And, at a minimum, what we're talking about is increased cost, lower quality, the sort of things you find in any monopoly. That's the best case scenario.
Unbelievable.
Worst case scenario, it goes downhill from there because food is what you need to survive. And we don't want to have to be dependent on multinational corporations for basic necessity of life.
And then they can force you to buy their GMO products. And I'm sure you've seen accompanying this, you're a lawyer, the bill they've got introduced to basically crack down and restrict organic farming. I mean, this is getting wild.
They're actually, the scary thing is there are about 6 bills in Congress right now, all under the heading of food safety. And all of them contain provisions for what's called like best management practices or best scientific risk analysis, different terms. But they basically boil down to the agencies telling people how to farm.
Yeah, turning hordes of control freak, carbon footprint eugenicists loose on the people. What does the war map look like right now? How bad is it? I know we're having victories and defeats. How do we defeat them?
Well, right now there's a big opening because the USDA is holding listening sessions all around the country. And I'm not holding my breath that USDA is actually listening. In fact, I bet they aren't. But the point is, if we get huge crowds there and overwhelmingly at meeting after meeting after meeting, people there say, we don't want this, stop it. That's how we hopefully get mainstream press attention. We start reaching out to the Congress, putting pressure on them. So even, whether USDA is listening or not is almost irrelevant. What we need crowds at these meetings. And
I was listening to Derry Brownfield this morning, and he said he's gone to meetings and talked to people that are at them. He said you'll have 500 people against this, but 5 or 6 people for it, and they're all the local farm bureau heads who openly have gotten money from the feds and others, literally like 20 pieces of silver.
Oh, absolutely. Last week we had the listening session here in Texas. Huge crowd, person after person after person from every walk of life, including people who have technological backgrounds and understand the technology, standing up and saying, don't do this. It's a bad program. We don't want it. And then the handful of people who spoke for it were the Texas Dairymen Association, whose parent organization has gotten money, the pork producers, whose parent organization has gotten money, and that was about it,
Yeah, well, these are big monopoly men. The dairy folks want a monopoly, so they want to shut down small dairies. The pork people want to shut down the small operators. Folks, this is do or die. These are offshore corporations coming in and turning hardcore control freaks loose. It's feudalism. It's serfdom. Got her for about another 10 minutes. Then Kevin Trudeau's coming up. We really appreciate her. And I got to get Judith McGeary on for a full hour because I get so mad about what's happening. I keep interrupting, going, and this is happening, and that's happening. And she could talk for an hour on each point I'm making. She's such an expert on this and such a great lady. But give out the website for folks that want to find out more. Tell them what else is happening, how we fight this, where it's going.
Our website is farmandranchfreedom.org. That's farmandranchfreedom.org. And there's a section on take action. And if you aren't going to read anything else on there, go straight to that section. You can download flyers. You can download, frequently asked questions. You can do all sorts of stuff because the key is getting the word out. I mean, the problem we've got is when you go to these meetings or you go to a county fair or any place, 90% of the people you talk to are against it. But also, you go to a lot of places and 50 or 60 or 70% of the people have never even heard about it. And certainly when you go into the cities, it's even fewer people who've heard about it. And that's our problem. The problem is they can push things through based on, feel-good sound bites, that this is a food safety program, things like that. And people don't know any better. And so education and reaching out to people is where we really need help.
Well, Judith, what's killing our communities is not just all this foreign bad food coming in that has no standards, and then all our food has higher and higher standards. And every time foreign food causes a health problem, they try to blame it on domestic. This is clearly a globalist model, as you know. But all the rural areas have got satellite dishes. They're watching TV. They're not down, at the coffee shop talking. They're not involved. They have disconnected, and they're going to lose their communities if they don't get fired up and involved right now.
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of pessimism in the rural communities. I think they feel, a lot of the rural communities feel that there's no point, that they no longer have a voice in the government because they're so outnumbered by the cities. And so they've given up, a lot of folks. Even if they stay on their farms, even if they're still trying to keep their farm together, in terms of activism, in terms of civic involvement, they've thrown up their hands. And we've got to get the city folks involved. This is about a food supply.
How did the land of the free, home of the brave, turn into a bunch of cowards that just roll over on their backs with their belly facing up towards the buzzards? I mean, I'm challenging people in the city, in the rural areas, all of you, to educate yourselves on this seminal key issue and to get aggressive and kick some New World Order butt. This is outrageous what they're trying. You're saying get the cities involved. How do we do that?
We need letters to the editor. We need people to hit the local farmers markets. We need people to hit co-ops. We need people to go to health food stores. I mean, any place you can think of where people are a little bit awake, just a little bit paying attention to their food, to their health, to these kinds of issues. That's an opening. Take it. Point out to them, okay, you care about food? Then you better start paying attention, because you're not going to have these options anymore. You're not going to have the local farmers. You're not going to have the organics and the GMO-free if we don't do something to stop the corporate takeover of our food supply.
Do 5 more minutes with us. We're going to have you back in the near future. We'll give out the website again for folks on the other side. Then Kevin Trudeau's joining us. If you're driving along in your pickup truck in East Texas or in Fredericksburg, Texas, or in Kansas City, Missouri, out there on your farm, or in Northern California on your vineyard, I'm calling you out, mister. You in the pickup truck right now. You get up off your butt and defend America. You defend our heritage now. It's your property. Criminals run the government. Judith McGeary, she is just a great lady. We've got her on with us, farmandranchfreedom.org. She's the executive director. Very honored to have her. This is the premier group. You need to get involved. You need to financially support them. You need to get up off your butts. I mean, our tens of thousands of years of heritage as farmers and ranchers is being destroyed, and this affects everybody. This is a paramilitary takeover of our society, just like they're doing in Africa, like they're doing in Europe. You can't put up with this crap. All right, Judith, you got 4 minutes. I'm going to sit back and shut up if I can. Call to arms. I'm calling people out. What does a good old boy who is in East Texas listening right now, or a guy running a vineyard in Northern California, or a chicken farm in Oregon, what do they do right now to fight this?
First step, like I said, is educate your community. And let me say, by the way, actually, I'm going to do a call to action of my own, because I've talked to quite a few folks who I know are who are also listeners of yours. And I hear things like, yeah, it's terrible, and I'm going to go hide someplace and raise my own food. Folks, that's not the answer, because guess what? By the time they finish rounding up everybody else and have driven all of the existing farmers out of business, and you can't buy things at the feed store, and you can't get a vet to come out to your property without this and everything else, you're not going to be able to hide from it. And I was actually very frustrated at the Austin meeting because a couple of people dodged coming because they didn't want to put their name down on record. And we need to get past that. We really need people to stand up and be willing to go on record, because they're going to come for me, and they're going to come for Alex, and they're going to come for a lot of other people long before they ever come for you. So, get your name on record and be willing to stand up.
They have special units the feds pay for in rural areas for radicals that organic farm and don't want to follow orders. I mean, this is happening. We got to all stand up now, or we're all going to hang separate.
Absolutely. So having done that and gotten it off my chest, first step is educating your community. Go to the coffee houses and talk to folks. Hang out at the feed store. Put flyers up at the sales barn in the cities. Hit the health food stores and the co-ops. Get the word out. Then what you do is, like USDA is holding these listening sessions. If there's one near you, go to it. We've got those listed on our website. If you really can't make it in person, you can still submit comments, written comments. They go on the record, and send a copy to your congressman, your state legislators, your county commissioners. It's one set of comments. It doesn't take you very long.
I believe farmers should put up 1 to 10 watt micro FMs that go out a few miles and put Genesis programming on, or do their own shows. We need to get aggressive and create our own media as well. How about a little local newspaper? How about farmers make their own little newsletter and take your material and others and get it out each week?
That's a fantastic idea. That would be wonderful. And you know what? A lot of local newspapers will print stuff that you provide because they're so short-staffed that unless they're completely controlled, if it's actually a small local one, a lot of times if you go in with an article, they'll print it. So, start feeding them that information. And I love those ideas.
Yeah, we were doing that with the toll roads. And then the toll road company bought over 100 Texas newspapers on the corridors to shut that down, showing the power. So, folks, if you take action, decide to kick butt, nothing can stop you. Judith McGeary, farmandranchfreedom.org, Executive Director. In the last 45 seconds, other key points.
This is our food supply. There are no other options. There's no way around this. The only way to protect our ability to eat and to have a choice in what we eat is by taking this on.
God bless you. I want to get you up for a full hour, and anybody else you recommend, maybe some of the farmers and people being arrested for selling eggs on street corners or watermelons being arrested. We've had some of them on. I mean, this is tyranny, folks. This is the opposite of freedom, and it's being done for control. Judith McGeary, we'll talk to you again soon. God bless you and the key work you're doing.
Thank you, Alex.